Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Trader Summit, and with me for the very first time, I have Mr. Albert Marko. He is a geopolitical consultant for the financial industry. It's good to have you here for the very first time.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
You know, we had an opportunity to meet on a podcast with Tony Nash and Tracy Shy Girl, and it was really neat to meet you for the very first time. I'm glad to have you like one-on-one because I think there's a lot. It seems like there's a lot stirring beneath the surface of life in general that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening in the world, and a lot of things behind the scenes that are materializing that we can definitely go through.
So let me ask you this. You know, we're at the Trader Summit. We're always looking for ways to make money in the markets, whether you're trading dollars or bonds or yields or currencies, whatever we're trading. How much do geopolitics these days play into the markets that we're currently living through?
Well, for the normal traders, they probably don't really look at it as much as they should. Political guys absolutely look at it because they need the markets to at least have the appearance of looking strong, because it's something that the voters have their eye on, and as the markets go, so-called the economy goes.
Sure. You know, I guess, you know, the big standout right now and you know, where all eyes are on China. And you know, China, there's this, you know, obviously as an American sitting here in the United States, all I hear is China, Taiwan, China, Taiwan. But is that something that as a global citizen, as an American citizen, is that where our focus should be, is what's happening with China and Taiwan?
Not really. I mean, the narratives out there that China's, looming invasion of Taiwan is a little bit overblown. I mean, they don't really have the military capabilities. They also cannot really risk shutting down their ports for an extended period of time. I mean, their economy would take a significant hit.
Yeah.
So for that, it's just I don't really think that specifically should be looked at. Is just a distraction from a bigger game of going on, where the U.S. and China are actually, I don't want to say decoupling, but certainly rearranging things globally.
Yeah, you know, you look again. I'm trying not to take it from a point of view of a trader at this moment, just more of a, you know, just a citizen looking around and taking it all in. You know, you look at China and it's reopening, and it kind of fell a little flat, if you will, and you're seeing a lot of companies move away from China because of labor costs and costs just in general, moving to different countries, like whether it's India or here in the US, a lot of countries are starting to do more business with Mexico. You know, how's that factor into China's economy as a whole, and how are they going to turn things around and continue to grow at the pace that they've grown for the last several decades?
Well, I don't know about the pace. I don't know if they have the ability to grow at the same pace that they have in the past few decades, simply because things are changing around the world, supply chains and politically. Right now, the Chinese, you know, their stimulus program everyone was looking towards, some 7, 8, 9% GDP growth is just not happening. And one of the big reasons for that is that they have an inflation problem. So they've been staggering their stimulus announcements to just basically keep their economy from tipping over into the abyss, and which is a pragmatic way to do things. And they have big debt problems that they still have to address, with the dollar surging at over 104 in the Dixie. I think it actually goes to 109. But the Chinese, like I said, they're head-to-head competition with the United States for the global market share in many different sectors. Their only weapon against the United States is asymmetric weapons, like using Apple, Caterpillar, and GM as negative influences in the U.S. economy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Apple situation. Obviously, this has been in the news. You know, how big of a deal is it to Apple as a company?
To Apple as a company, I don't think it's that big of a deal. However, the narrative makes it a big deal, right? It's going to take a couple of years for Apple to most likely move Foxconn and that supply chain away from China and actually look at other emerging markets to replace the Chinese consumer. Yeah, it's a big deal, right? But I think Apple has plenty of tools to overcome this in the next few years. The issue that I see is Apple is used by actors, whether we say the Fed or whoever, to pump the markets. It's one of like the big six or big seven in the tech industry. So, the U.S. is going to have to accommodate Apple in some which way by giving them subsidies or playing ball in the supply chain sectors.
Interesting. Let's shift gears a little bit to like the Russia Ukraine situation, and I mean as of today, I think Russia is meeting with North Korea. How big of a deal? Well, let me rephrase my question. How do you think this is all going to play out with Russia, Ukraine, and with the friends they're making in different parts of the world?
Well, the only friends that I'm concerned about them making is still in Africa, right? Because Russia's only real economy is commodities, whether that be oil, lumber, food, commodities, wheat, and that's one of the issues that's one of the things that they've used against the entire world is commodity suppression. Their exports have dropped off, and they directed exports to the Middle East and to China, and that's a problem for the United States. That gives inflation. Food inflation, which voters absolutely do not want to see, a good surge going into 2024.
So tell me about Africa. What's on your mind there?
Well, uranium is a big thing that the Russians have, and they like to at least suppress the exports from Africa, whether that be uranium or oil and gas. They put Wagner in certain areas of the continent. And really not so much to take it over, but at least to be able to cause a little chaos so the exports don't get to the markets. They did this in Libya effectively by backing Haftar for many years.
Interesting. So how do you think the Russia-Ukraine conflict is going to play out? I know it's probably a loaded question, but how do you feel about that?
Well, it's going to be status quo for the next 5, 10 years. I mean, they're not going to be able to displace the Russians from the territories they have, and the Russians are not going to be able to take over the main cities. So it's one of these things where it's going to be a frozen conflict for decades.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably not going to be good for bringing disinflationary pressures to the market as we'd all would hope as consumers anyway. So let's talk about the markets. What do you think is going to be the biggest influence moving forward, and what should we as traders and investors, where should our focus be in the months ahead?
In the months ahead is specifically looking forward to 2024 election. And the reason I say this is because Congress has a habit of stimulus programs and all sorts of great legislation that benefits certain sectors to where it's most advantageous for themselves. One of my favorite trades, and I'll give it to you for free, is corn. And why I look at corn is because the Senate is comprised of only 50 members, and most of these guys are up for election in the Rust Belt and the Corn Belt, right? Well, because of that, you will see a couple pieces of legislation coming out, or ethanol waivers, or so on and so forth, because the rural vote is extremely important for senators.
So do you think price of corn is going to absolutely take off then?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's funny you say that about and it really doesn't matter what you look back and just past elections, and it doesn't matter who's in charge. It's just it is what happens, right? To win votes. So with this next election cycle, you're going to be looking at corn. And what else should we be focused on aside from the election cycle here? Like geopolitically, globally, what should we be on the lookout for?
Europe. I think that's a big problem that nobody really wants to address. I mean, the German economy has gone into a recession, but realistically, the entire European economy has gone into a recession. They have a problem because their whole system of exports have gone to China, and that's just deteriorating at the moment. And their imports from Russia is going to probably tick up in the wintertime. And they've made no moves to expand their markets into Africa, which is going to be the next biggest emerging market.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because when you mentioned earlier, as our discussion started, you thought the dollar index was going to travel up to 109. Well, most of that is comprised, or at least over half of it is comprised with the euro as a whole. Mm-hmm. So that means you must be pretty bearish on not only the eurozone, but really the euro currency as a currency.
Oh yeah, well they only have two countries that maintains the euro, basically Germany and France, and both of them are not in good economic health at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if I'm overstepping my boundaries here as far as monetary policy goes, but do you have any opinions about, the Fed, where we're at with monetary policy, and do you have any opinions on where you think the Fed's going to be going from here, and inflationary pressures, where they're going to be going from here as well?
Well, the Fed has an interesting gambit of suppressing oil to help the CPI inflationary numbers, just for the headlines and whatnot. So I definitely think oil is probably going to tick back down into the 70s before it goes back up. But the Fed is really, really having issues right now with maintaining inflation, or at least trying to get core and super core down, which I just don't think they're going to be able to do, just because whatever Powell does, Yellen counteracts. So I think there's probably 2 more rate hikes coming in the next 6 months.
Wow. So 2 more hikes. That would be pretty, again, falling in line with your bullish dollar thesis. That's where our monetary policy here in the US would end up diverging with other monetary policies from other countries. Very interesting, Albert. Before I let you go, let me ask you, last thoughts, like, where any particular place that you would be positioning yourself in the months ahead, maybe in the weeks and months ahead, as we move into the second half of 2023?
I'm just really bullish on commodities at the moment, specifically food, of corn, wheat. I think I don't really want to be into oil going into the fall, but I do like fertilizers, also one of my favorites.
Wow. All right. Well, Albert, I love having this chat with you, and I'd love to have it with you again here on the Trader Summit. But let me ask you this: where's the best way for us as traders to follow your work?
Twitter is mainly where I put everything. I'm going to actually start doing a subscription for the elections and going for just for about a year, so cover the elections and more expanded coverage.
Great. So on Twitter, you can get to Albert's Twitter handle just by clicking the link down below to see his profile. But what's the Twitter handle right offhand, Albert?
AMLIVEMON.
At Live Monitor. M Live Monitor. M.
First initials.
Well, yeah. Albert, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day and meeting with us here at the Trader Summit. If you all like what he had to say, make sure you give him a thumbs up. I'm sure you're going to have some comments down below, so jump down in those comments. Any questions that you have there for Albert, put them there. Albert, thank you so much for spending your time with us. I'll catch you on the next time here on Trader Summit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey traders, Blake Morrow here. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also click the bell notifications so you do not miss any of our market-related trading analysis from some of the leading industry experts. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in the next video.